everyone, it's Michelle Caruana from Play Cafe Academy, and I am really excited about today's video because it's something that I've discussed in several previous videos, but as we look at the long-term effect that the COVID-19 crisis is going to have on our customer perception, our customer preferences, all of that stuff, I really expect this type of business that I'm going to talk about today to explode in popularity, not only in the coming months, but also in the coming years. So I really want to help anyone that is interested in this type of business get started and get started quickly, because you know, there's not a lot of supply out there with this type of business right now. There are some markets that I'm going to talk about that are a little bit more saturated, but there is so much opportunity out there. And this type of business, a mobile event, party, or play business, is one of the easiest businesses to get started because there is low overhead cost. So we're not talking about rent or signing a lease or hiring an architect or a huge expensive build out. And you will also find that there is a lot less red tape when you're opening this type of business. There is going to be some legal stuff you have to deal with. There's going to be some licensing. There's going to be insurance needs that you're going to need to take care of. But overall, when you think about the other different types of businesses you can open, like an indoor playground, for example, this is much easier, quicker to get started, and it's a lot quicker to actually get your first booking because, again, you don't have to worry about a really long build out, and you're going to be able to earn your return on your investment back a lot quicker. So this is one of my favorite types of businesses. Now, inside of my Playmaker Society program, which is my group coaching program only for Play Cafe Academy members, I really help people supplement their indoor playgrounds with these mobile, whether it be craft delivery services or balloon garland delivery or mobile play or things like that. But a lot of people don't realize that you can actually use this to get started. So if you start out as a mobile business and you generate some revenue, generate some buzz around the community about your potential brick and mortar facility, that is really going to set your actual physical space up for success, because you are going to have a line of raving customers ready to support you because you've already been supporting them in the community for probably months, maybe even years up to that point. So whether you are looking to eventually have a brick and mortar facility or not, or this is just kind of the end game for you and you want to take this all the way to the next level, this is a video that you absolutely need to watch. And one thing I want to say is I am going to be teaching a full workshop, so it's going to be 90 minutes. I'm packing the entire thing with every single thing that somebody needs to know in order to get this business launched. So we're going to go over the legal stuff, all the licenses, all the insurance, how to market it, how to actually accept bookings, so all of the tech stuff. I am going to get into all of that in my workshop, and that is going to be this Wednesday, so May 27th at 2 p.m. Even if you're watching this video after this day, I'm still going to link to it in the description. I am going to make a replay available for people who are interested. So the link is in the description of this video. If you are at all interested in starting this type of business, this is the workshop that you need to launch your business in just 7 days. And that's just not, getting your idea out there. That's actually getting your very first booking, your first paid client in as little as 7 days. So definitely sign up for that workshop. I'm really, really excited for it. But today I'm just going to give more of an overview, and something that I always advocate and something that I'm going to talk about in the workshop a lot is that I am a huge proponent of starting very simple and then scaling up and adding additional services from there. So today I'm going to give you some ideas of different options and different focuses that you can choose from, and I'm going to give you some pros and cons of each. But even though there is, some of these types of businesses already out there, there is still so much opportunity. As I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of people, because of COVID-19, are just feeling more comfortable at home. They want to celebrate with their close family and friends, and they, are going to be wary of celebrating and congregating in large groups in third-party event venues for quite a while. So we have to be agile as business owners, and it's our responsibility to keep up with these trends. So the reason that I really want to get all of these businesses launched in as little as 7 days is because people are looking for these services right now. I guarantee it, and I am so excited to help you get started today. All right, so I already mentioned that about the lower startup cost, the little red tape and things like that. But one more thing before we get into the good stuff I wanted to mention is that, you know, one of the biggest reasons that people feel comfortable at home is because they have more control over their environment. They have more control over who's in and out every day. They have more control over the cleanliness and things like that. But the big problem that we're going to try to solve today is, you know, their homes probably aren't equipped for a party, so they might not have the tables and chairs and tents and decorations and food and play equipment and things like that. So, you know, yes, we're business owners and we want to make a profit, but something that I always recommend is coming from a place of service and trying to meet customers exactly where they are. So understanding why they're going to be interested in this type of service, this type of, you know, bringing the party to them in a sense. But we also want to make sure that we are very understanding. You know, people might be a little bit nervous. We might need to do a lot of education and a lot of assurance. But I really think that, you know, if you come from that place of service where you're trying to help them feel as comfortable as possible and really just enjoy the day without having to worry about the details, then you will be successful. All right, the last thing I want to mention before we get into all of the different types of businesses you can open is, if you find this video helpful, subscribe to my channel and turn the notifications on using the little bell icon, and leave me a comment. Let me know what focus that you are going to choose. Ask me some questions. I always respond to the comments and I love connecting with you guys there. All right, so the first type of business that you can choose to do, probably you're not going to be surprised I'm choosing this one first, but a mobile play business. So typically what a mobile play business is, I don't know if you've seen these, I'll throw a picture up on the video, but the most common type of mobile play business is like a perimeter fence with a floor underneath, because, you know, we have little babies and crawlers and younger children. And then usually like a soft play type climbing structure and toys and things like that. And this is going to be in so demand right now. You know, I can tell you firsthand that children's parties venues have been booked up for years. I mean, they're very popular for children's birthday parties, so play cafes, other types of indoor playgrounds, things like that, community centers. But again, people are going to be a little bit moving towards wanting to celebrate at their homes instead. So there is a huge opportunity, and not a lot of people are actually offering this right now. So a lot of people in my group are offering it, but there is still a lot of demand to be satisfied in this area. So that is the pro of this type of business. And I love this type of business too, because the soft play equipment, yes, it's a little bit pricey up front, but it's really a lot less than a lot of the other types of mobile businesses that I'm going to mention today. And I love that they're very easy to clean. So again, I mentioned in the beginning that customer perception is important and we need to consider it. So even though we know that we are going to be keeping up with the CDC cleaning procedures and we're going to be doing our absolute best to use the top of the line products, our customers might not necessarily know that. So something that I'm recommending that everybody who chooses this type of business does is actually, before the guests start playing on the equipment, just wipe everything down and then do the same thing before you even load it into the truck. Because it's not just about keeping the client happy that day, it's also about generating new bookings from other people that may have been at the party. And it's about having that customer refer you, and that's how you're going to have a consistent client base. So even though we know that we're going to clean the equipment when we get home, you know, we might be feeling tired after a long day and things like that, but I'm highly recommending cleaning as much as possible. Bring a mobile hand sanitizing station, bring a mobile hand washing station, have a sign that says, you know, if you have symptoms, you're not, you know, permitted to play. Maybe you want to do temperature checks for a time being, that you might want to work out with your host. But the pro is that, again, there is such a big demand and there's a big opportunity, and it's really not that hard to clean this type of stuff. Now when we get into talking about some of this other stuff, it might be a little bit more difficult. So this is a big pro with this type of business, and it can really be adjusted to meet the demands of younger children. So the soft play type area, you could do some bigger structures. For the, you know, little bit older kids, you could do some activities. So maybe not just play equipment, maybe some we're gonna get into this a little bit later, but maybe just some more educational type activities for the older kids, just to keep them a little bit busy so that the parents aren't feeling like their house has to entertain them 100% of the time. So that is a huge pro. A con is that there's still gonna be COVID-19 concerns. So there is still going to be a little bit of apprehension in any sort of group gathering, but we really can't avoid that. All we can do as business owners is just do our best to adapt, listen, and make adjustments based on what we're hearing from our guests. So really not a lot of cons, but yeah, COVID-19 concerns just going to be plaguing every type of event business. It is what it is. All right, the next con is that you're going to need transportation. So a lot of these play equipment things are big, and you're going to need to either purchase or rent a trailer. So one that hooks onto your back of your car, that's going to be the most cost-effective long-term option. Or if you're just looking to get started, like if you want to do your first event in the next week or so and you just don't have time or the money to rent a trailer, U-Haul does very cheap rentals. You would be surprised. I think the first time that I rented a U-Haul for this type of business, I think it was $50 for the entire day. And yes, it was more expensive, than purchasing a trailer would have been over the long term, but I just wanted to start generating money. I just wanted to get my business launched. So if you're looking for a quick solution, that could be your ticket, or, ask a friend if they have a van, something like that. But that's a downside, is you will need some sort of transportation. And you might, because of, sun and weather and things like that, you might also need to purchase a large tent to go over your play equipment, not only to keep the kids safe and everything like that, and address weather concerns. That's a big, downside of this type of business. But also because you're gonna wanna protect your equipment from the sun. If your equipment is sitting outside in the sun for hours on end, it is going to fade and it is going to disintegrate a lot quicker than it would if you didn't use a tent, or did use a tent. All right, the next con is that you're definitely going to need some type of flooring, and I found that there aren't a ton of great solutions out there. I do have some that I recommend, but that's a con because it takes up a lot of space. It takes a while to set up. You might need a couple different people to, facilitate this type of setup, but the pieces are generally very reusable. They're durable. You can make the one-time investment and then use that exact same soft play setup again and again and again. All right, the next type of business, mobile event business that you can open, is a more decorating focused type of business. So this is going to be for the person who wants that really, upscale birthday decorations or graduation decorations, or, something like that. So I'm talking about like balloon garlands, really nice displays, really nice table settings, things like that. And this is really fun, especially if you have great attention to detail and if you like this sort of decorating thing. Now, the pro is that you can serve many different markets. So not only will you be able to do children's birthday parties, but again, you can also do graduation parties, wedding showers, baby showers, gender reveals, anniversary parties, engagement parties. There is a lot of opportunity to be had, weddings even. So that is a big pro. However, a bigger market doesn't always mean bigger profits. So again, I'm a huge advocate of starting small and scaling up from there. So if you're gonna start with this type of business, I wouldn't just put it out there and say, I can do any event. I would pick one particular area to focus in, maybe it's baby showers, as an example, and kind of go with it from there and then expand as you see fit. And the reason that I'm going to recommend this is because a lot of your decoration pieces are going to be a little bit more expensive. They're going to be more upscale because, again, these are people expecting, a full event experience. And if you want to do every single type of event, then you're going to have to purchase a lot of decoration inventory upfront. So I would definitely just choose one, maybe survey your social media, maybe ask your family and friends what they think would be a good focus, but it's going to limit the amount of risk that you're taking on because you're making less of an investment up front. And again, there's no saying that you can't expand into other events, but I always do recommend choosing one thing, because if you decide you don't like it, it doesn't really work out, whatever the case may be, then you don't have as much inventory to kind of offload after. And the con, which is what I kind of just got into, is some of these decoration pieces are a lot more expensive than you would think. Like, for example, a lot of indoor playgrounds are purchasing these like giant letters that people can take pictures in front of, and the most popular one for a lot of them is just one, the O-N-E. So, and they can put a table on top of it, they can make it into like a dessert table, or it can just be a backdrop. So if you're doing kids' birthday parties, for example, and you want to focus on 1-year-old birthday parties, then that would be a really great kind of like signature piece. But if you're going to be purchasing multiple signature pieces, then it's going to be really expensive. I think that those letters alone were like over $1,000. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your business. All right, the next type of business that you can get into in terms of mobile businesses is event planning. And this is where I started. Like I mentioned, I actually started as a wedding coordinator. I don't know if a lot of you guys realize this, but I worked with brides, I brought decorations, I coordinated with vendors, I really organized everything, every budget line item, every check that needed to be paid, every tip amount, every deadline, everything I organized into spreadsheets for them. So if you are very, very organized, this is a great way to get started. And the big pro here is that this type of business has by far the lowest startup cost. I mean, when I got started, I had nothing. I only had a website, and I launched it with my friend Jacqueline and I, and we got our first booking literally within a couple of days. Just because we cast our vision, we let people know, you know, this is what we can provide for you. You know, it's gonna feel so nice to not be stressed on your big day. And really the only investment that we had to make up front was a couple little legal things. We had to purchase our website domain, and we had to just buy a really quick website template, and we were up and running. Now, did we end up purchasing more, you know, signature pieces and things like that, backdrops, things like that down the line? Yes, but we definitely generated the revenue ahead of time in order to afford those pieces so that we didn't have to take out a loan, we didn't have to borrow money from anyone, because that was really, really important to us. All right, so the next pro is that you won't need any equipment or transportation. So I already mentioned the low startup cost, but you can just use your car if you want. And one of the best things that I ever did for my business when I was first getting started is I wrapped my car with our logo, and I got so many calls saying that they saw the car and that they wanted to, you know, look into our services and things like that. So that is very cheap marketing. And again, it's great that you don't need to invest in any sort of transportation. You can start this business as a one-person show. You won't need any help with setup or anything like that. So this is really appealing if you want just a really quick setup. And again, I mentioned this in the beginning, but this is another great way to start establishing relationships with different venues, because as time goes on, people are going to start being more comfortable congregating in large groups in third-party facilities, so outside of their home. So if you can start establishing relationships with vendors and caterers and entertainers and venues ahead of time, and you become one of their trusted service providers, that is going to be a huge opportunity for you in the long term, and they're going to start referring their clients to you if you really impress them and are professional. So this is a really great way to get started. All right, now the cons. So I mentioned that I got started as a wedding coordinator. Let me just say, this is an extremely stressful job. So of course you could be an event planner for wedding showers or baby showers or something like that, but definitely the most in demand is probably corporate events and weddings. And those are both very high energy, fast-paced, stressful environments. You know, when you're talking about wedding coordinating, you're literally responsible for making sure that the biggest day of somebody's life goes off without a hitch. And I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I had over, you know, thinking, oh my gosh, did I call the florist? What if they get there too late? Am I gonna be blamed for this? It was very stressful, and I did it while I was pregnant. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but just know that even though there's a lot of pluses to this side of business, it is very stressful. And if you are not highly organized, I probably wouldn't suggest this to you. And another con is that a lot of these weddings and big type of events that need an event planner, they are probably not going to be happening for quite a while. So even though, you know, I was able to get this business started extremely quickly, I also wasn't in the age of COVID-19. This was probably 7 years ago. So I wasn't competing with that type of thing. So even though it's very low startup cost and it's quick, I don't know if people are going to want to be, you know, forking over a ton of money for an event planner for a wedding that they might not even, you know if it's going to happen or not. So these event venues are not going to be booked a lot. So that's going to be a downside for this type of event. And another downside is that an event planner is really kind of a luxury, and because we are gearing up for a recession, it would be irresponsible of me to not let you know that, this type of business does take a downturn in a recession. Now, a lot of people are predicting that this recession will be shorter than most, in terms of like lasting a year instead of 3 years. So I would still consider this type of business, but just know that you might not get steady bookings until this whole COVID-19 is, at least more over than it is right now. We're in May 2020 right now, so we're still right in the thick of it. All right, moving on. The next type of business that you can focus on is catering. Now, catering is a big topic. So a lot of people, when they think of catering, they think of like cooking in their kitchen or baking in a commercial kitchen in their home, or in another facility, and then bringing it to a party. But catering can also encompass food trucks. It can incorporate coffee carts. So one of the people inside of my group, Latasha, she is doing a cotton candy mobile cart. So she's going to all different types of events and fairs and things like that. But this all kind of falls under this catering umbrella. So even if you're not a good cook or a baker, these types of businesses are going to be very, very trendy, and that's a huge pro. Mobile champagne carts, mobile cocktail carts, mobile bars. I already mentioned coffee carts. I think that these are going to be hugely popular, not only because people are going to be doing more mobile type events in their home and they might not have these sort of things available to them, but it also was already a trend before COVID-19 was even starting. So this is a great trend to hop on if this is something that you're passionate about. The other good news is that they're obviously portable, so you can invest in a one-time equipment setup. So you can purchase a food truck, you can purchase a cart, it's really a one-time thing, and then you can kind of bring it wherever you want. So with decorations, you're kind of always having to buy new things. Every single event is going to have their own look and feel, and you really just can't reuse decorations except those big, versatile signature pieces like you can with this type of thing. So there is a huge market for this, again, depending on what it is, so just be smart. Choose something that you're passionate about. So if you're not a coffee drinker, if you're not passionate about coffee, don't open a coffee cart, because we're not just trying to make money, we're also trying to build a life that we love. So just keep that in the back of your mind as I'm going through these. And so again, there is a bigger market. A coffee cart can be good for a kid's birthday party, baby shower, wedding shower, a corporate event. It can be used for a lot of different things. So I would highly consider looking into this type of thing. The con, of course, is these one-time investments are going to be expensive. I'm not going to lie, these carts can go anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000, depending on how fancy you want to get and things like that. And if you're really talking about like a full service food truck, it's going to be even higher than that. So again, we're starting small here. So I would start with something smaller and then work up. But I'm not going to lie to you, this type of investment is going to be big upfront. And you will also have to get extra licenses because you're serving food, alcohol, whatever the case may be. There's going to be a lot more red tape that you're going to have to go through. You might have to apply for a liquor license. And you're also going to have to, like I said, apply for food department, health department licenses. And you're also going to have increased insurance, especially if you're actually cooking. So again, I'm going to be talking a lot more about insurance, the insurance topic in my full workshop this coming Wednesday. But just know that there's going to be a lot more setup. So even though you can get your first booking in 7 days, you're definitely going to have a bigger lead time. Like you're going to have to book that event months in advance so that you can get all of your ducks in a row, all of your licenses approved, and all of your equipment set up. So those are the downsides. One last downside is with these soft play equipment type businesses, or the type of business that I'm going to talk about next, you can, again, reuse these items all the time, and there's really no direct cost for your packages. So yes, you're going to have to include labor, gas, things like that, but there's no actual direct cost to using that soft play equipment one more time. Yes, there's depreciation, but I mean explicit direct costs. With any type of food business, alcohol, coffee, you're going to have to actually spend money on that inventory every single time. So you're going to have to work that into your pricing, and you're going to have to take shrink into account. So if you purchase a ton of perishable food or something like that, or you fill your cart with a certain amount of alcohol, you're going to have to make sure that you're either charging for the full amount, or that you're working shrink wasted product into your pricing. So it just makes it a little bit more complicated when it comes to pricing your services. All right, the next type of business is what probably the most widely known mobile event business, and this is just the pure rental business. So I'm talking about tables, chairs, tents, that type of thing. Things that can be used for any event, typically outdoors. So I mean those like big tents that people have weddings under and things like that. So again, there's a huge market for this, so that goes under the pro list. And especially if you live in an area that has mild weather all year long and outdoor events are very common, this is definitely something to look into. And it is very easy to get started. You can purchase one size 10 on Amazon. Maybe it's like 20 by 20. They have these things on Amazon. It's a one-time thing. You can buy folding tables and you can buy chairs. And yes, it is an expensive one-time cost, but like you can reuse those items probably for years and years to come. So there is a large market. Great outside, easy to get started. The con, again, is it's very expensive up front. You will definitely need transportation even if you're doing folding chairs, and even if your tent isn't that big, you're still going to need transportation. And the downside is you probably, if you're doing those larger tents and things like that, you probably will need to have help setting up. So you probably can't run it as a one-person show. And the other downside is that they're gonna be very long days. So the types of events that people rent these tents for generally span over days. So for example, we just rented one of these tents last year for a 4th of July party. It was huge. And they dropped it off on like Friday, and they set it up, we used it Saturday, and then they came and got it Sunday because our party was like all day long. So you're gonna really have to consider that when you're thinking about your pricing is once you enter this event, it's going to be a long process. So it's either going to be like a 12-hour day where you drop it off, you leave, and then come back and pack it up, or you're going to have to span it over 3 days. And that's 3 whole days where only one event is able to use that item. So it does make it a little bit more complicated, but again, this is one of the easiest ways to get set up. And again, you can start with just a rental business and then you can expand into carts and decorating and catering and play equipment and things like that. But this is a really great way to get started. And then the last type of business that you can open, which is a mobile event business, is an entertainment focused business. So what I mean by this is like balloon twisting, princess visit. So if you have like a nice princess costume and you are, you have experience maybe in musical theater or something like that, face painting, story times, children's activities. Something that we used to do at my indoor playground facility is we would offer like on-site babysitting services for weddings and corporate events. So for example, anybody that brought children to a wedding could kind of drop them off, and we would bring like a mobile play setup, and we would do story times, we would do snacks, we would do activities, and then the parents could kind of just relax. And what's great is that the bride just kind of, or the wedding party would kind of pay for this upfront as a service for their guests, so we wouldn't have to worry about, oh my gosh, how many people are going to use this. It was just a one-time flat fee. And what's great about it is we didn't need any sort of childcare license because the parents were staying on site. So if they needed to use the bathroom, if there was anything, we could just call them, and they were, probably like less than 100 yards away. So this is a great way to get started. Again, pros is it's inexpensive, very low startup cost depending on how much you're offering. And it's, again, widely applicable. So if you're doing this type of like babysitting service or balloon twisting, I have seen balloon twisting everywhere, from fairs to parties to, even adult parties, classrooms, homeschool situations. There is a lot of different ways that you could make this business work. So this is definitely something that you would consider. Now the downside is that you do need to have some skills. So, admittedly, I'm kind of awkward. You would think that because I own an indoor play business that I would just be naturally very gifted with kids. I'm actually pretty awkward. So like princess visits or story times, that was always something that I outsourced. I'm very business minded. I'm great with numbers. I'm great with generating revenue, coming up with new ideas, but I'm actually super, super awkward around any kids that aren't my own. So this would not be very appealing to me personally, just because I don't have the skill set. But if you're willing to invest time and money into learning balloon twisting or learning face painting or learning juggling or, investing in, learning what mannerisms a princess might have or something like that, then that is, something that you should go for, but it's not for everyone. I will, caution to say it's definitely not something that I could do other than this you know, kind of mobile babysitting type things. But again, it's very cheap to get started, and you can start accepting your bookings right away. So I hope I gave you some really good ideas on how to get started, and I hope, again, you're walking away with some clarity about what mobile businesses is right for you, what might not be right for you, what you might want to get started with, and then eventually scale up from there. And if you want to learn, I mean, this is just this is probably a fifth of, not a fifth, like 5% of the information that I'm going to be sharing on Wednesday in my live virtual workshop. And you will also be able to ask me questions that day. So if you are interested in learning everything you need to know about getting this business launched in as little as 7 days, just click the description, the link in the description, and I would love to see you there. All right, have a great day, guys.